Right before Mehyia Yesu, I had gone through so much. I wasn't hadn't had a lot of luck with jobs. My music ministry was just going down the drain. I didn't feel like I wasn't invited to events and such. Nobody really was caring for me or looking out for me. So I didn't feel good at all. But just before Mehyia Yesu, it was that I took some time off of music to be able to really get back to knowing God more, get back to understanding why I was doing this, and remind myself, because my spirit was getting better. I was not happy. I wasn't even supporting people as I used to. Most people know me from back in the day that I would just be supporting people, sharing things, putting this here, pushing over, but it got to a time when I wasn't doing that. I was becoming envious of other people because maybe they have stronger voices or better voices than me. People.
Hello, hi everyone. I am Dr. GB Salom, and you're welcome to GB Interactive Live. This happens every Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on IG. The conversation is recorded and made available on YouTube and also available on podcast. The YouTube channel is GB Interactive, and then the podcast platform is GB Interactive Pod. So if you are new, I'm literally announcing it to you all. On this particular program, we have conversations that matter. You're going to hear stories that will touch you from personalities whose stories are literally inspiring. Today, I am blessed to be interacting with an amazing singer-songwriter who has been doing this for a very long time. He's been in the gospel ministry for close to 10 years. First as a background singer, he has contributed to writing for some of other ministers' songs. A teacher by profession, but a music minister by calling. And it is my singular honor to invite none other than
Omari Kisi Jr.
Please, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you?
Yeah. I'm not doing bad myself at all. Thanks for this wonderful opportunity to interact with you.
I wanted to, have a talk with you, definitely. So, it's such an honor. Hey, Ben Franklin.
Morning praise, very unexpected. The Omari we know, like morning praise was something that we would, in our wildest imagination, said ways to so. But you put this record out there, and it sounds so effortless. It doesn't sound like it's a new thing to you. What's the inspiration behind this particular song, and is it like you're taking us on a different direction?
The inspiration.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, the song was obviously inspired by the Bible text in Psalm 30 verse 5, I believe, which says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." When I was doing my concert last year, I was supposed to put songs together for the repertoire of the song and the concert. And as you were saying, I had many songs that are ballads, that are worship, that are slower songs, that you call them slower songs. And so I wanted a song that was a praise song, and try to praise it out towards the end of the event. So initially, it was supposed to be a duet between me and Royal Chris, because I didn't think I was capable of doing it. I felt like maybe a praise song was a little too much for me. So I would start it off, and then Royal Chris will come and then just take him home, and he'll just he can really put on a show. But fortunately or unfortunately, he couldn't make it for the rehearsal. And the day of the concert, he had to sing in Kumasi, I think. So he obviously couldn't make it. So I had to do it myself. And it was my manager, Mauli, that was also encouraging me, because he was like, "No, you can do it. Don't think that all you have in you is just worship songs or ballads. You can write it in your own way, present it in your own way, and it will still be beautiful. It will be worth it. People will enjoy it. So that's how come I got to do everything, and I think it turned out quite well. I tried to use a kind of a formula that would be easy for me to do, because this wasn't what I was used to. It pushed me into my comfort zone. I think what I'm looking for more is the opportunity to minister it or sing it at events and places, and see how that will go, because that would be the real challenge. I promise you, because recording it like it was at my own concert, so I'm doing it my own way. But to see myself sing it at events, now that would be the real challenge for me.
Yeah. But when you listen to the record, it actually came out like perfect, honestly. It's not because maybe I know you or because you are on here, but I know your team too is very excited about the outcome or the output.
Definitely. I mean, we don't skimp on quality at all. We go back and forth a lot. I'm very much personally involved in how the background vocals go. You would hear me for even a lot of my records. Many people don't know this, but a lot of my records, I sing all the parts in there. Like, I'm in there with them in the booth, and I'm trying to ensure that it sounds exactly how I envision it to sound. Even with this record, like, there was more that we wanted for the background, but at least the voices did what they needed to do, and we didn't have time, so we had to move. But we try to make sure what we want and what we hear and believe that it will move people, quality, we don't skimp on it at all. We ensure that the best is done, and sometimes it takes a while. I mean, we're running into the same issue with the video, where we're still working on it to make sure it comes out and it's good enough, for consumption. So
okay, but we've known your other side. This is definitely relatively new to most of us. How are people receiving this new direction or this new vibe?
I think generally with same with most of my songs, it's always been great reviews and great reception. Everyone who listens to it, even on first listen. Today I went to a radio, an online radio called Africa Global Radio, and it was, I think, one of the studio workers or people who, like, technicians. It was playing, and it was like, oh, when you hear a song that is he was just vibing to it, and that was his first listen. So I think so far everyone who has listened to it, like, taking time to listen to it, because that's what we also run into. A lot of people would get the song, they don't listen, but those who have taken time to actually listen to the song just give me positive feedback. Everyone says that they were blown away by how I led it. The music is good, the instrumentation is good, the trumpet, everything about it was great, and they are shocked to see that I'm going in. I've gone to this direction of something praise, and it was done in my own way, but still very perfectly delivered. So I'm really grateful for that.
Sure. I know it's a little bit too early to talk about songwriting, but because we are talking about a new direction and all that, I want to bring it in a little bit. We'll leave it and go back and come back. So, it is widely known that you have a very great anointed, like, pen game. No one can argue about that, because you've literally contributed to some songs by other ministers, and then you've been also putting songs out for quite some time now, so it's not new at all. Is it a natural ability that, like a gift you had, or you have had to go through a process to prune it, to hone it, to master it?
Definitely, I think. So I started writing or trying to formulate songs probably when I was in high school, like senior high school, and so there's a small group that I joined, and then they wanted us to put out our own song. So I'd write something, and then the leader was blown away. It's like, this is really good. This is really good. This is going to be our title track. And then I was just inspired by the music that I knew. So back then it was a lot of, like, Kirk Franklin's and these American gospel kind of songs. So I think that I wrote songs back then, and those songs are a little shaky and will need some tweaking, but that is where it began. I didn't think it was something I could even really do. I didn't enjoy even the process because it meant sitting down to put it together, make sure it made sense. And I'm not a perfectionist per se, but if something is not good, I won't be able to present it. Most people who have asked me to write for them, it takes a while for me to present the song, and I always want to present it a certain way because sometimes if I just sing it to you without instrumentation, or you might think that it's not very good. But when we add something to it, you realize that, oh, okay, it's a workable song. So it's something that I've had to hone for a while. And of course, I think most people don't know that they have the ability to write, but you actually really can write. It may not be the best song, but you can write something once you put your mind to it and you are attentive. And of course, I draw inspiration from other writers and other singers. It doesn't come innately. It comes from listening wide, learning from other artists, picking inspiration and putting things together, and then also the message that you want to put out. You kind of like house it in that kind of melody. So it's been a gift, but it has been it's like a skill that I've had to hone for a while. I've come this far, so I'm grateful for that.
Okay. Yeah. From what you said, it means that before Give Thanks, you had already written songs in the past.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, some of the songs that you may hear me sing, I wrote them like years ago. You know, I wrote them, like it's been a while since I wrote them. It's just that I hadn't had the courage to start working on myself as an artist, and I hadn't had the opportunity to. So now is the time that I'm putting them out and working on them. But yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, please. Omari wrote songs for Tasha Cobbs and the Clark sisters.
No, my dear.
Okay. At the time that you were putting out Give Thanks, do you remember the circumstances around Give Thanks? And at the time you were recording it, did you understand the path you were taking, or it was just, I'm gifted, I've written a song, I want to put it out? Did you understand what it was that you were getting yourself into?
Well, okay, so Give Thanks is one of the songs that I wrote when I was in senior high school.
Okay.
See, put on. So I wrote that in high school. But the shocker is the chorus was already there. It was a song that we sang in our church. I think it's a Nigerian song. So, but the way that I did it was different. But the verses I wrote to it, and the other parts, wrote to it. So when I was ready to become like an artist or venture into doing my own music, at the time I was signed to a record label called VI Music, and we were getting ready to roll out a couple of songs and do covers here and there and all. And they wanted me to, so they were doing this thing where the label mates will all release a song. 3 label mates at every month or every 3 months will release a song. So it was time for me to also release one song. So we were going to go with a certain song which I wrote a while ago, which I've never put out. And I don't know what happened. We went to the studio, and then I was like, nah, let's do this song instead. And I sang it to, then the producer was Reynolds, the gentleman, and he was shocked. I was going to go with the normal working ballad thing, and then here I come with a reggae song. A reggae song. And at first I wanted it to be all reggae. You see, the beginning was supposed to be the beginning is, I have heard of the Lord. I wanted it to be reggae, but it was that my manager then I was like, oh, no, let's break it down to like an R&B, then take it to reggae towards the choruses, and end it that way. So I don't think I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. Then it was more what I had as a crutch was that, I'm just doing what the label required me to do. I'm just putting out one song. Let's see how it does. let's. I'm just putting out one song. If it does well, I don't really care. It's not really a major release. It was not meant to be a major release. It was just like the label is saying 3 label mates have to put out a song. So I just kind of did, and I didn't even know. I think till this date, I have not realized whatever impact it has made because, as I said, it wasn't like a major release for me. Maybe Mehyia Yesu would probably be like the major release where I was like, this is a song I'm putting out, So, but it seems many people still love and refer to it, and that was my real introduction into the world of artistry and people recognizing what I sound like. And a lot of people think that's like I'm a super singer because of Give Thanks, which I don't understand. But I think it definitely did something for me in terms of making people pay attention to me as a voice or like a vocalist, So it did something good. But at the time, honestly, I did not know whether it would be monumental or just something that was passing through, in the gospel space. So,
but
yeah.
Do you remember when it actually became something that you now understood and wanted to now do? When the calling came, let me make it simple.
I think it was right before Mehyia Yesu. That's when I had gone through a state of sort of like depression, and I had I felt like my voice was not good enough. I felt like my ministry was not powerful. And I say this all the time in gospel. Now it's changing a little bit, but in gospel, that the best, the voices that are seen as the best voices are the heavy, stronger, high voices. For male voices, very heavy tenor voices, big voices. They are the ones that are called powerful. And so all I had wanted to be called was like powerful, like I have a powerful voice. But here I am with this very soft, demure, tenuous voice that is not like it's just very soft. Even when I am pushing as much as I feel like I am, it comes out still very smooth and silky. And I thought it was a negative instead of seeing it as a positive or seeing it as my uniqueness. I felt like it is what. Yes, I thought it was more of a defect. So, right before Mehyia Yesu, I had gone through so much. I wasn't hadn't had a lot of luck with jobs. My music ministry was just going down the drain. I didn't feel like I wasn't invited to events and such. Nobody really was caring for me or looking out for me. So I didn't feel good at all. But just before Mehyia Yesu, it was that I took some time off of music to be able to really get back to knowing God more, get back to understanding why I was doing this, and remind myself, because my spirit was getting better. I was not happy. I wasn't even supporting people as I used to. Most people know me from back in the day that I would just be supporting people, sharing things, putting this here, pushing it, but it got to a time when I wasn't doing that. I was becoming envious of other people because maybe they have stronger voices or better voices than me. People who typically may not even be the best singers, just because they have heavier voices, I'm envious of them, or I feel like, well, look at them go. Whatever. Like I was becoming, my spirit was just becoming bad, So I took time off of all of that to try and fix myself, and that around that time was when I went to the studio to record my first album, and then put out Mehyia Yesu. And I think what God did for me then was to remind me, or use that record to tell me that your voice, no matter how smooth or silky or soft it is still necessary for my use. Just like in the Bible, when there was an ass that was tied down, it's like, what is that ass meant for? It is necessary for the master's use, and that's what I felt after Mehyia Yesu. So God told me that the gift that you have, I can use it. If you trust me, I can use it. And that was when I realize that, oh, this is much bigger than me. It's not really even about my voice, or even what I think is a negative of my voice is a positive that people are drawn to. People actually like that my voice is smooth. It's different from what everyone else is doing, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it may attract so many people, but the little people that it blesses is still relevant and important. So it really helped me and gave me much more confidence. And most people realize that I became a little more confident, and I started now seeing myself as an artist more. Because first I wasn't really feeling it, but now I realize that there's a task and something ahead of me, and so I shouldn't worry so much that my voice is not like everyone else's. So I think that's when I realized that this is really ministry that I have to take seriously.
I had a question down. It took you about 3 years before you released Mehyia Yesu. That's after Mogya. And what happened between this period? Did you quit? Was there a retreat? You were no longer part of Heartbeat Music, and was it that you needed to re-encounter Jesus again? And I think that what you just said literally answers that question. And I'm really
exactly. There was a time when I felt very depressed. And I said, in many aspects of my life, I wasn't seeing progress. Like I wasn't having a good job. I wasn't I wasn't in a good space, and my spirit was very low. My spirit was battled and embittered. I was not feeling. I was not happy. That was the word. I was not happy. I remember clearly. That was when I became friends with Kingsley, and I used to tell him that I wasn't happy. So there was a time. After that time, I started feeling happy for the very first time and realizing, oh, I'm happy now. Which and that is different from even joy. I mean, joy is there, but just to be happy, just to feel okay and feel good. I didn't give myself that opportunity, or life and circumstances didn't give me that, and that's why I had such a long break, because I was really depressed for almost like a whole year. I think that was probably 2018, 2019. It was just a terrible year for me.
Let's take it back a bit so that the place will be a bit calmer. Growing up, I know your parents are pastors.
Yes.
You're literally born in the church.
Definitely.
Give us a glimpse or a hint of your upbringing and how that has had an influence on you as Omari as a person and Omari as a gospel musician. If there's any link on that angle.
Okay, so I think as you rightly said, my parents are ministers. I grew up in the church. Very humble beginning. We lived in a regular compound house in Alajo, and it was like very, very humble beginning. But what I remember is that my parents were very loving, very, very caring. They ensured, even though we were from very humble beginnings, there was nothing that we lacked. They put us in the best schools. They made sure everything that we needed, everything that we wanted, we had, and we did not feel like we lacked anything. And more importantly, we knew that they had our backs, and then they loved us, which was very, very important for my growth. Because back in school, school kids are mean, they can tease you, you don't have this, you don't have that. But I knew that when I went home, I was loved, or I mattered when I went home, and that kind of love and empathy that I also have for people comes from that, because I realized that no matter where anybody is in their lives, they still deserve and need love. They still deserve acknowledgement. Sometimes it's not even about loving person, but acknowledging people, making them know that you're worth it. I see you, and that's what my parents really instilled in me and did for me, because it was very easy to, when I was young, it was in school, besides the fact that I was smart in class, I was very negligible. It was very easy for people to discount me and like discard me, because I didn't have any social clout. I wasn't back then. People tell me now that I'm handsome, Back then in school, I was like in primary, I was nowhere near that. I wasn't, I was awkward. I wasn't, like, I just wasn't, I don't have that swag and that dopeness or whatever. So, but it was my parents that made me know that I matched. And I remember one time, kids were teasing me in school about my head shape, whatever. And my teacher was also saying that. So, one man who is now an elder in a church saw me walking down, and most people who have met me know that I soliloquize. That's what it is. So soliloquist. So I talk when I walk. So he saw me just like talking to myself, whatever. And it was like, "Hey, little boy, what are you mouthing over there?" I was like, I was feeling bad because my teacher is really um, rallying people to tease me and speak like just make me feel bad. So it was like, really? So he took me home and then told my dad that he saw me just talking to myself and be feeling some way. And my dad was like, "Oh no, he's going to go to the school and then ensure that they stop that." And I begged my dad. I was like, "No, no, no, don't go. That's going to be make the situation worse." And he didn't go, but he made me feel and realize that I am not those things that they were saying. I am a child of God. I'm all of that, and I think that also segued into how they raised us as Christians, because they didn't raise us with an iron fist. They gave us a lot of leeway to be children. I mean, I we used to go for our day and dance to secular music and have fun. Like they weren't strict with that. They taught us what needed to be taught. So, for instance, we'll do morning devotions. Saturday mornings we'll do a major morning devotion. Sometimes they'll give us each opportunities to maybe bring the word or teach the word. Well, Daniel is here. Daniel Deadman. He is he's like a family friend, so he knows my parents and everything, and I'm sure he loves my parents. And they would teach us the word. They would go to church. They made it something that we go all the time. And they were, I think my parents were concerned about our character. My mom was concerned about how we looked outside, our image, and all of those kind of things. So it helped us to find each sibling. We all found Christ for ourselves. It wasn't going down our throat in that way. Like I found Christ when I was in senior high school. So everyone got to experience knowing God for themselves. So I remember that we each had different times. I remember when I became a Christian, my sister was not really all the way there, and then she became a better Christian at a certain point. And then so it was at all different times, and my parents didn't force us to be something that we're not. So it was a great upbringing, I must say. I wasn't trying to rebel because there's the door is already open. So there's no need to rebel or pretend as if, because I've seen some pastors' kids who were very too strict, and their children were now frequenting clubs and just having like great times there, and these were parents who thought their children are the best, or they were strict on them, but they didn't know that they were doing that. But my sisters and I, we never really did anything like that, because we didn't have any pressure to like, don't look there. So now we are curious. There was nothing like that. We're just really free. So I truly appreciate the upbringing that I had, which has made me who I am today.
Yeah. Musically, were there any hints or glimpses here and there? Maybe being part of a children choir or anything?
So, okay, well, I had an uncle who was a keyboardist of our church then. So he would take us in to the church sometimes, and then that cassette tape, the small one, we would record ourselves singing something, right, and you play the keyboard, and that was my first memory of me singing and even discovering singing in that way. And the most seminal part of my music discovery was when someone in my church gave me a Don Moen cassette. And I tell this story all the time. That really began my journey into discovering myself as a singer, because I realized that when I put the cassette in, I could sing along to the words. I knew how to just follow the lyrics. I could really, even though I couldn't sing the harmony, I could realize that there's like they are singing different parts. I could really follow the music, and I was able to learn every song on there, learn how to sing it, and even attempt the accent, or and that was like a music lesson for me. And of course, years later, you had Daughters of Glory Jesus cassettes, and also that's where I realized that maybe I could sing. And of course, I sang with a small group in primary, and sang at worship here and there. So those moments gave me hints that I could be a singer.
How about your time in Pope Jones? How was music like in
Pope John?
Pope John.
Pope John. Okay, so Pope John, the very first week, I believe, in Pope John, probably even the first day. No, I think the first week. There was this guy called Michael Kwabi. He is in the gospel space now, and he's like a presenter on Inflences TV. So he used to say, he was in Form 3, Form 1, and they had a group called Mystical Vibe, I believe. It was like the contemporary wing of the the choir, and I saw him in the chapel singing. They were playing for him to sing, and he was really in the zone, like really going at it and singing. I was like, wow, he's really good. I want to join. So I joined for a bit. I even joined the choral choir for a bit, but I didn't take it as seriously, even though people could tell that I could sing, but I didn't take it as seriously because it was a Catholic school, and so the avenues to sing were very small, and then they took away our scripture union. So then, I couldn't really sing. And even when I was part of the scripture union, I didn't join the choir. I joined the evangelical class, so I wasn't exploring it as much in Pope John. The real exploring in college, university, Lagos.
University of Ghana, you joined the family choir, and you mentioned that is where you literally got exposed, and then your understanding about music was broadened. Do you remember specific things, maybe not all, but specific things or areas that you saw the growth when you joined the choir in uni?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it was the best. Like, I remember it so fondly. Like, family choir was my life. I love family choir. That is where I realized that I really love music. I didn't even know that I love music, but I love music so much. I was happy to go for rehearsals all the time. It was not a bother for me. All night rehearsal. I could sleep at an all night service, which is bad. But at an all night rehearsal, I would be awake. Like, I loved it so much. And I remember my director then really took me under his wings and was giving me opportunities to sing. So I remember the freshers service, I led the choir. I led the freshers choir, for the freshers service, which was a very big deal for me because it meant that I could sing, or it meant that I was very important, And he gave me a lot of opportunities. Sometimes, if even the lead was one, he would make it as be two. If someone was singing, and he would make me also sing part of the lead, which was very, very, very good. I think one of the biggest moments of growth for me was one time I became a music director. I became a music director in level 300, I think, either 300 or 200. And I realized that, so I wanted to teach a song, and it was all the glory belongs to you, all the glory belongs to you, blah. And I noticed that, so the MD was like, okay, go ahead and teach it. So I went, and then I was really singing something, doing something. I didn't even know that I hadn't really listened to the song. I didn't know the part very well. Flat on my face. I didn't even know what I was doing. It was so embarrassing, And so that was when I was like, hey, No. Let me listen to the music, understand where the lead comes in, the arrangement. Let me score the song. I did not know anything like that. So that made me learn. That made me go back, and now I will listen to the song, listen to the parts, know where the arrangements are. And I think I had an MD in mass choir. Most of you know him, Curtis Kwaku, who was just like ridiculously phenomenal. It didn't even make sense. Like, he would come for rehearsal, and he was very influential. He'll come for rehearsal, and he already knew the parts. He wasn't coming to now listen and teach. He knew what it was. He comes and sings every part. But he has a big range. Sings every part for everyone, and then we just go. And I think it inspired me. It really inspired me to want to really um, invest time in listening, understanding the parts, and then now be able to teach. And I mean, now I can be able to teach my own team, my songs and everything. So that was very, very important to me.
Yeah. It was around the same time that you joined Heartbeat Music. You're working with Pastor Jifa.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it means that campus ministries are really, really, really important, because most singers go through it, and that's where they, like, the foundation is set. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, for campus ministry, unless of course you are already very gifted, you can't evade it. It's, if you get the chance to go to university, any of the campuses, you have to join a campus choir and learn, because you learn from other people. You learn how organized groups sing. You learn how choirs come together to sing. You learn how small groups sing. You like it's something that you can't escape. You have to. And well, I mean, unless of course you're very good, but for me, it really, really, really helped me. I got to even sometimes realize that there are so many other types of voices. There are so many other people who are better than you, and there is so much to aspire to. Because you can be in your corner and think, "Oh, I'm good, I'm fine," and then you realize that no. There's so many people that are great, have other gifts that you don't have. They have more range than you. They have maybe more depth than you. They have a sweeter tone than you. All of those things, and it pushes you to either learn or to be humble. Really, So it's a great place to start from.
How did you become part of Heartbeat Music, and what was your experience with Pastor Denzel? Like, what did you learn from there?
Heartbeat. So most people know I was with Heartbeat for 6 years, I believe, and I joined. Reverend Denzel had come to campus to come and train the singers. Mass choir singers, because he was also part of the mass choir, and he picked some of us out, like the frontliners. He picked us out and he was trying to teach us, okay, sing this, do that, whatever. So that's when I first met him, and I connected with him on social media and what have you. I used to send him messages on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and sometimes he won't mind me. And but he was busy, he was working. And so he later, when he was about to form Heartbeat Music, he sent messages out. He pinged the message out to many of us who were part of the mass choir and said that if you wanted to be part, come to, I think our first meeting was at Accra Mall. I believe it was Accra Mall. And so we went there. And almost all the people that came, well, I thought that he sent the message to everyone, but I think it was just specific people. So all the people that came became the first members of the group. And we started rehearsal, I think next Friday. And it was quite a great learning curve. I mean, Heartbeat was grueling, so grueling, because we had to learn a lot of songs. And we used to have a lot of disagreements with the parts, and it was quite something. But it was the first time I was singing on big stages, very huge stages, because I'm singing at National Theatre. I'm singing behind Danny Nete, Joe Metal, Leo Kine, you name it. Like almost all the big icons, they come through our rehearsals and sing with, like, it was quite something, casually having Chris Yotting come through your rehearsal just to observe, or just to like, it just was really, really crazy, especially for a young person like me who looked up to those people. So it was a really great time. And I think one of the best things I got from it is it opened me up to many people seeing me, and I had almost like a ready audience. Tough and grueling, because of course there was the first time Reverend Denzel was also being in his own ministry and leadership, so that was not easy for him as well. We also gave him some wahala. I'm telling you, it was not easy, but we've grown. We've all grown together, and now we can go back and reminisce. And it's crazy. Most of the founding members have all left. Really, I think I don't know if it's a founding member that's still there. Okay, besides Pastor Jeju, but everyone has moved on to do other things. I mean, Reverend CC is a huge star now. Manuel is doing so well with his music. Pastor Jeju is doing his thing. Sandra went on to become a doctor. She's a PhD woman. I mean, like, that lady is ridiculous. She was a valedictorian in her time. She's so smart. And all the others, I mean, doing their own thing. So it definitely was a great time. I think what I cherish about the group was the exposure it gave me, and opening me up to how concerts are done, huge concerts, big concerts, what it entails, how it goes, how you have to be ready for anything that comes, changes on stage, or, all of those kind of things. There was a huge production, one of the hugest productions.
I also saw a picture of you and Ife Grace and Alexandra. I think you guys had to back Bryon Cage. You guys look so cute and so little. How was that experience to, I know this also happened around that same time?
Hey. So I was going to work, and I think either Curtis called me or Alexandra called me. I think Curtis was involved somewhere. Alexandra called me and was like, "Oh, there's a singer that needs BVs, and if you'd want to come." I think she mentioned it was Bryon Cage. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell my boss that I have to leave early to go and do something. So I left and went. We met him, and so they had sent the songs in the day, and I was listening throughout. And I mean, the only song I knew from him was "Presence of the Lord is Here," really, and just one or two songs. And we had to learn. We went to see him. We had to learn the songs, and it was grueling. So when we're done, we still weren't there yet. So Alexandra was like, you know what? Let's just sit out here and wait and go through the songs again. I mean, she is really a task mistress. So we sat. There was me, Alexandra, and Ife Grace. We sat and we went through and so some of the songs we knew that, not all the songs, but some of the songs, there was going to be soundtrack that would help and beef up, but some of the songs we had to sing on our own. So we had to really learn it. And even on the day, I was not getting some things because I just learned them, but we were still able to pull it off. I think that we did 2 sessions. The first session was a little shaky, but the second session we were down for it, and it was a great experience, great experience. And I'll tell you this, and this sounds crazy, but till now, and I don't know whether it's really a shame or a good thing, but it is the most money I've received ever for an event.
That's so many years ago.
Which says a lot about I guess our music industry. Says a lot about how we value our artists and what we need to do. Because if I'm even going to charge that kind of amount or more than that, people will be like, "Hey, where do you come from? Who are you?" But it's a testament to how we need to really value our artists. But
I was asking that from the time you released your first song and then your current song, within this period of time, what are some of the things that have changed? Have some things become easier to do in terms of logistics, in terms of money? Yeah.
I think things have become bigger, not easier, but things have become bigger, and I've taken it a little more seriously. I've become a lot more involved because now I know a little more, and so I know exactly what I want and what I don't want. I am looking forward to doing bigger things or collaborating in ways that would move my ministry further. A lot has changed. I mean, as I said, things have become bigger, and I couldn't have even had the audacity to do a concert, but I've been able to do one which was in some way like a standard concert, because I did a smaller one back in 2019, I think. But this one was like a standard concert where it's like at a big church, a live recording, which I had never done before. So definitely I've moved on. If I look back, I think I'm not where I used to be, and I've moved on, and the prospects are bigger and higher now. So yeah, definitely things have progressed. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Now let's go into some of your songs. Let's talk about Mogya.
Yeah, Mogya is it's a South African hymn that I rewrote in key. So it's I heard that from Joy Celebration, my favorite Joy Celebration. And so I listened to that record and I was like, no, I can rewrite this in Twi and present it to Ghanaians. I feel like it's such a beautiful melody, beautiful melody, so that's what I did. And I redid it because I didn't like the first production. Even though it's beautiful and it showcases my voice, but the production was not very good. It wasn't. If you listen to the record itself was not heavy enough. It wasn't good. So I had to read it, and it's so strange. People still defer to that one and are ignoring the rewind. But the rewind is I love the rewind so much. Probably because the rewind is one of my best vocal deliveries. It is one of my best background deliveries. It's so natural. It's so moving. I don't know how people are not listening to the rewind. Like, people are crazy. Y'all go listen to the rewind. The rewind is good. It's my favorite. I love the rewind so much.
I get, but and then after that, it's like you already mentioned, it took you a while before Mehyia Yesu came, and since then you've not looked back, like you said in your song. How personal was Mehyia Yesu to you?
Mehyia Yesu was just something else. See, up till now, I don't even remember how and where I wrote it. I think I remember walking down the street. I was going home, and I remember writing the verse. Born in you now. Although I had the chorus there already. Mehyia, I had it already. But I don't even remember whether I wrote it in church. I don't remember. But I know that the words ring very true for me because it is for me my personal conviction that no matter what comes my way, even if I fall into some sin, death, whatever it is, sir, I'm sorry, nothing can separate me from the love of Christ, first of all, and then nothing would see into the world. Like, I will still remain steadfast in God, no matter what I do, no matter what comes my way. And I think that is what Christians need to say, especially for young people, because back to campus where I remember there was a young boy who joined our choir, and very cute kid, he had joined, and then I tried to get close to him because I wanted him to really feel welcome and all. And he did feel welcome, but the pleasures of the world, like wanting this and wanting that. I remember he saying that, oh, he wants a car, he wants to have a car, he wants to have this, and I'm like, well, it's now it's a car is a necessity, but back then it's like, you're a student, you don't need one. Maybe you want one, but you don't really need one. You can get around. You can, He wanted so many things. He wanted to experience so many things. Be here, do it, And so, it's kind of that desire for wanting physical things really led him to a different path, And I didn't want to be that. Even though I don't have some of the things that I want, I still know that if I have God, I have everything, and that's more important. So I won't turn back just for the world. I won't turn back for money, for cars, for whatever it is. I will, and it's something that I think Christians and young people have to embrace. That it might be difficult, it might be lonely, it might mean that you lose some things, but this is the life that we've chosen as Christians. This is the life of a Christian, that we are never going back, into the world. And so for me, I was able to personalize it, and maybe it came through my delivery because I sang it twice. I sang it the first time, and I thought the first one was good, but I think something happened. They were like, they didn't record something, like, oh my gosh. So I had to sing it again, but it still was beautiful. It just, I think today, till now, I've released many songs after, and people are still like, that Mehyia is old, that Mehyia is old.
Because it resonates with many people.
Yes. Yeah.
And at the time, most of the greats in the country were reposting it, sharing it, not just for themselves, but making people know that I'm being blessed by this song.
It came at the right time because, see, the songs, just like many other songs that I've put out, I don't mean to brag, but they are great songs. But I had, it just happened that around that time, maybe because the pandemic was now easing out a bit, people shared it, maybe because they like the song. I don't know how and why. But even at that time, they had this We Are One thing that was going on Facebook, and they really shared it. I remember seeing almost like more than 200 shares from like my Facebook post when I announced it. Like, it was so many shares. I mean, now I'm not getting those kind of numbers. People don't care anymore. But listen, people really shared it, and it encouraged me so much. And I think maybe it's because it was necessary for them. Maybe it was because I hadn't put out music in a while, so they wanted to know what was coming. But it was quite something, I tell you.
After that, there was Medumfo, Mogya Rewind, the Beholding Ending, and then you announced the album, Anthems of Conviction.
Yes.
Why did you call it Anthems of Conviction?
Yeah, because every song on there sounds like an anthem. Almost every song on there sounds like an anthem, and the conviction came from definitely Mehyia Yesu, but I realized that all the other songs were songs that helps us to really entrench our faith in Christ, and in our walk, in our walk with Christ, the things that we need to remember and to do. So all of those songs convict me. I mean, take Mehyia Yesu really, which is giving us a reason to remain steadfast in Christ. Medumfo, which is telling us that God is the one that gives us grace, and so no matter what we go through, we have that grace and we can go through it. King of Glory tells us that even though people trust in chariots and horses, whatever, we will believe in God. We will trust in God. All the songs have this anthem vibe to them, and I felt like they convicted us of the things that we needed to know and needed to see as Christians, and the tools that we needed in our walk in Christ. I mean, I think maybe I had hoped that there would be like a praise song on there. There was You Deserve the Praise, which was like an American. but I wanted like an African praise. But anyway.
How long did it take you to work on the album?
So the album had been a long time coming. I mean, I recorded everything in one day, but I had written them. You know, I had some of the songs like I had written them years back, like 5-6 years back. You know, but I recorded all on the day that I recorded Mehyia Yesu, so all of them recorded in one day. You know, which was grueling, but it was because it was cheaper to do. Honestly, it was cheaper to do. So some of the songs, listen, I'm not kidding you. Some of the songs, because of our time, we did them in one take. Like, listen, it was crunch time. Play, sing, we're done. Play, sing, we're done. Because we had paid for, I think, 4 hours of studio time, and we're like, "Charlie, we can't waste any time here." So we made sure it's only a few, like maybe Mehyia Yesu, I did it twice, and some of the songs maybe we have to start again, but almost every song is like one and done. Charlie, we didn't have time. Cry.
This money thing is like there is so much to do, but well, we'll talk about that pretty soon.
Yeah. It's quite something.
Yeah. So you had Minister Bryon Cage, Pastor Sisi, Harriet Brobe, Albino, and then the Nozifo Fury, all the way from South Africa. What influenced your choice of who to collaborate with?
Okay, so besides Nozifo Fury, everyone on there, and Harriet, everyone on there was my friend, people like somebody that I had known for a while. Even Albino, I had been talking to him for like the longest time, you know. So it was Harriet that I didn't know personally. I wanted someone to, because if you listen to the song, she sang alone. So I wanted someone to feature on the song alone like that. I was coming through my mind who to call, but I felt like to use her because she was also a new artist coming up, and I wanted to grow with someone and have someone who would also be moving up in as I am doing, you know. So that was how that collaboration came about. Nozifo Fury, I definitely wanted to work with a South African, and I think she was, in my opinion, was a perfect choice then. You know, she was the one that I felt could carry, and then at the time she had been really nice and friendly, you know. So I cherish that. I don't like people who are difficult to connect with, and you know, she was actually very nice, and she responds to her, you know, that at the time, you know, just message, she would respond like, "Oh, how are you? Hey, my brother," whatever. So it was easy to work with her, and I mean, she has an amazing voice. I mean, I had hoped for more because she was very restrained, even though all the things that she sang was amazing and high. I mean, what we knew her for, she kind of restrained. I think maybe she wanted to match me, so it doesn't sound like she just threw in her voice all over the place. But it was still a very beautiful record, and all the other collaborations were just as beautiful, and I'm really grateful for that. I feel like it's crazy, but on my first album I have a South African on, I have an American on, I have my friends on. Like, I'm blessed.
But are you going to get a video for the one with Nozifo?
Am I going to?
Are you going to get a video?
So we wanted to do that, but we've not been able to get to do it. I recorded it live. I have the version of me. I don't know if we'll ever do that because I've also re-recorded it with Nana. So unfortunately, people don't. But I still listen to albums. Like, I'll listen to a full album. But many
heard
people
that actually.
don't do. Yeah, yes. Many people don't do that. So um, I I I think even though there are beautiful songs on the album, um, they did what they could.
But what happened with Kiss covers?
This kind of see that was me trying to be like Prince Chapel. Okay, well, really not really, but um, don't worry. Maybe I have time to do a couple more and then put it out. But
Because me, that was how I don't say discover because I don't discover you, but that's how I got to know you.
wow,
It was the Made a Way cover. Not that we're friends on Facebook, but it was just that times we used to add people because you have mutual friends with them, and then the Made a Way came on the TL. I remember learning this Dito, and actually did my own cover. It's like inspired me to do my own cover. It's one of two covers I have on the channel. Yes. So well, for some of us, it was also good. Yeah.
But let's see how it goes.
Sure. Moments of Blessing. That's like your concept. MOB. It debuted in 2019.
Yes.
How was it fared? How did you come about the name? Is it every year? Do you have a specific time?
So this is something we're thinking about. I don't know if I'm going to do it every year, but it was actually my first concert. My very first concert was called Moments of Blessing, and the Moments of Blessing just simply meant that we're going to receive blessings from God in the moment that we were there, and it was my first showcase. The name is still very great. I think it's a great name that I could probably carry on. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do some more things. I'm trying to see if maybe this Christmas I can organize an event, something small that some of my real fans will be able to come and enjoy my music and my singing. So we'll see about that. I don't want to put it together really well. So
yeah. You seem to have a very great relationship with Lydia Forsen. She's a great supporter. I don't know. You guys link up when you talk much about social issues?
No. But Lydia's not my friend. Let me not even. Lydia is not my friend. I mean, she's my friend through Facebook, and she used to appreciate the things that I write, and she loved them, and she would message me like, "Oh, this is really thoughtful," or whatever. And I remember when I put out Mehyia Yesu, so I also asked her to share it for me, and she did. But I'm the type of person that I don't like to worry people or bother people, and I try to take advantage when I can, but I don't like to take advantage of people. So I've not reached out to her to help me promote anything. I don't want to have her do that or be in a position where she must do it when she doesn't want to. So I think the door of being able to communicate with her will probably always be open, but I don't want to abuse it. Maybe when something really, really important needs to happen, and maybe I'll hop on that. But she's just been very, very gracious and sweet to me. She's just a really nice person, and if you look at her in the industry, she's friends with everyone. She's able to maintain friendship. She's just really that type of girl. So big ups to Lydia.
You stopped writing about the issues. Why? It was going to affect your ministry.
So all of that was the depression stage where I didn't feel like I was worth it. I mattered. And that was when I stopped, because I was like, who am I to be writing all these things? And I sometimes I go back and look at the memories and see all the things. Sometimes very, very salient points and arguments and very wise submissions. So I'm inspired again. Maybe I would write a couple more, but I think um, I also got into this space where I wanted to just, in the social media space, just be known for my music and keep my private life private. I think that came from Kingsley, because Kingsley is very private. Oh Lord, he's the one who kind of made me chill in that way. But I don't know. I think wherever it will lead me to, I will go. I'm not going to force it too much. If I feel inspired to write something, I will write it. But I'm, I'm okay. At least I know that I'm not depressed, and I'm happy. So I'm not restraining myself out of the negative things that kind of held me back. So I'm okay.
Okay. We'll finish very soon. I'm sure by 9:30 we'll finish. I'm enjoying it, so I'm able to ask everything I wanted to ask. How about challenges? Challenges you have any? Because it sounds like, okay, you came back, it's been good, but I'm sure. But even though you mentioned money and you have to record some songs one take and all that, those are some. But if you could elaborate on it so that people who watch this after maybe could relate and know that they are not alone.
Yeah, I mean, challenges. I have some of my team people watching. Isaac is here. I don't know if now. Money is definitely the hugest part of it. Like, you don't have the resources. For instance, like, I wish that as I'm going to radio and places, like, you give people a token or a souvenir or something. I don't have it. I can't afford those kind of things. So it almost seems like you're not grateful, even though I make it a point to be as clear and very profusely verbal about my gratefulness, but or my gratitude. I always know that money makes the lack of money makes things very difficult. I still, even though it's not like what I used to, I still deal with confidence issues, confidence on stage, feelings of not being worthy, or like that imposter syndrome where I'm like, do they really want me to sing? Like, do they can I like do they know whether I can sing? Like, me, like, I still have to deal with a lot of that. It's getting better, thankfully, by God's grace. And I think that part of me has costed me a lot, because we live in a fast world where you come on stage, and for me, my voice has to warm up a little bit, and now I'm better at it, so I warm up before going. But I've had many wasted opportunities where I go on stage, I'm nervous. He's not powerful, he's not, whatever, he's not anointed, all of that. So I've not been able to reach a certain class in my live presentation, and it's changing. I'm getting more comfortable with the stage, and I'm getting much better, and I'm not what I used to be. But I've always struggled with confidence. And then also the fact that recorded music in Ghana is slowly losing, not even slowly, very rapidly losing value. And we are deferring a lot to Nigerian recorded music, and that is all we're singing at our concerts. It's all the Hey Yayas, the Onisha, like all the Nigerian songs we are making popular here in Ghana. And I think some of the big ministers, those who go around and sing, they are perpetuating the problems, because and it's easy to really to almost like turn a blind eye to it, or dismiss what I'm saying and be like, I'm not spiritual, or I'm like, what am I saying? But for our industry to grow, and I think for some people it serves them, because some people are not recording artists, or they don't care about recording music. They care about going to places and singing songs and giving people movies, which really has become the order of the day. And I think people who do that have the most money or have the most resources, because they get gigs and we get to be paid more. But I feel like for the industry as a whole to grow, we need to have lots and lots of recorded music available. We need to push it as much as we can, and we need it to be big. And for it to be big, we have to be singing them. We have to popularize it, publicize it, make it a big deal. and the people from Nigeria or South Africa, whatever, they don't sing and songs like we do, so it's not like a mutual connection, mutual what do you call it, union, so cooperation. So I think that is also a major challenge for some of us who are recording artists or like to record music. It seems as if the value being placed on us is very low, and you can't even get anywhere. You really can't get anywhere. Like getting on certain shows, and like they don't even really care for you to come there. So it's also a challenge if we really, because then also because there's no money in it really. Like there's no money in it. Nobody's giving you any money really for that. So I think the money is all in the worship, leading worship at concerts and all of that. So I think that is a major challenge, where if we could put value back in our recorded music, because the people of old, like the Daughters and people, they had value in recorded music, and they made money from recorded music. Because back in the day, I don't remember, maybe they were happening, but I don't really remember them organizing lots of concerts. No, it wasn't happening like that. It was more of, they have their records out, we go and then we buy them, or we access their records, and of course there weren't many channels to pirate the music, but because people will be asking me to send them, like, why are you asking me to send you my song? Like, if you even download it illegally, but why are you asking?
Spotify is just,
I'm like,
17 CDs a month. You can listen to anything at all.
Even beyond Spotify, for instance, there are some songs that I want to have on my phone. I find ways of like accessing it. You are like 25 or 26. How don't you have a way of downloading music yourself? Okay. Like you need to find a mechanism of getting music. Like you're a young man or a young woman. Like you should be. Anyway, I mean, people say that I'm being mean or being bad, but I think those are some of the major challenges, because you need people to take you seriously, and sometimes when you haven't reached a certain level, even though your material is good, people still don't take you seriously here in Ghana. So all of those things are some of the major challenges. Of course, because there isn't much money in it, I can't really do it full time for now. I have to, because I'm not just a worship like singing worship. I'm a recording artist really, and that's what I would have really loved to be known for. So but I think that I'm getting there, and things would definitely look up and be better. So I'm hopeful.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. I don't want us to say much about it, because that conversation is very, very lengthy. But combining teaching and music, how do you find a balance?
Oh, it's difficult. It's difficult because I'm sure maybe you would know this. Like I'm on vacation now this whole July, and that is when I was able to release my single, because today I went for a certain radio. I couldn't do it if I was in school. I was in class. So it just limits how mobile you are. I'm not able to go anywhere unless, of course, after school. And most shows are in the day, or so it's just really fun. But I guess it's the price I have to pay, and it maybe it's God's way of making me compartmentalize what I have to do, and then take my time, make money, or work, have a job, do something, and then put it into my ministry. So it's not easy.
But sometimes it does feel like if you were doing the music alone, maybe your attention there, like we are saying, you would have more time to even promote, to be everywhere. Like I face the same challenge too. And sometimes I appear slow just because I'd have to go to work. I'm even traveling next week. So like there are so many impediments. You want to do it, but lots of things will come in.
I think what could happen is I'm trying to find ways of making money outside of a regular 9 to 5. And once you're able to crack that, then you can focus on, then you have the time to balance that out. So until such a time, I'll still really be working.
Occasionally, you're on radio. I know you wanted to be a journalist.
Yeah.
You still find your way to to still be on the radio. Is it something you do regularly or once in a while?
I'm a co-host on a show on Sweet Melodies called Keys and Strings, and we do it every Saturday. I mean, I've always wanted to do radio. What you're doing, for instance, right now, I love like interviewing. I want to get into something like that. So I know that in the future, I will take some time off to do like maybe a show or do something, and like have my own show. So it's something that I want to do.
You've mentioned daughters. You've mentioned Kirk Franklin. Like a little summary. Who are some of other people that have inspired your music or you usually listen to?
Oh, inspired my music. It's so wide. I mean, definitely Don when I was young. Obapa Christie, Daughters of Glorious Jesus, Mr. Smith, definitely big influence. Neo Kai was also a big influence with Mukube, very, very huge in my life. Let me see. Right now, obviously, Joyous Celebration is my Beyonce, really, and I really like, people don't know this, but okay, well, some people do that. I really admire and look up to Joe Metal, and even though we don't sound alike, but what I admire most about him is his writing and how he has low key churned out so many hits, and I really aspire to be that, to have that. So I mean, he's just really so untouchable for me. Joe Metal, obviously, and then I mean, vocally, I look up to so many people. Kimberells, the Karen Clark shit. I've listened to those people. Dietrich Haddon, Jay Moss. Back in the day, I used to love Mary so much. It's so many singers that I love and listen to. It's like I can't even name them all, but yeah, Prince Champion is also one of my idols. So yeah.
Okay. You'll be giving us like a pillar of morning praise soon, and maybe a little much of some of your songs. But I have just one last question. I asked all my guests that there's more to talk about, but maybe another time. But my last question is, when all is said and done, what would you want to be remembered for?
What do I want to be remembered for? I think I want to be remembered for the way that I tried. You know, I did my best. I didn't give up. Like just moving on in spite of everything that was stacked up against me. My mono sege Mehyia Yesu why be I'm a man, why be I'm a my mono sege Mehyia Yesu.
Okay. Thank you all so much for joining today's episode. I know you've been blessed. I have been blessed in multiple folds, in 1,000 folds. And have a wonderful night and keep coming back. Thank you. Thank you. I've seen you. I've seen you. I'll hit you up very soon. Bye.